Hello, Internet, interwebs. This is Dennis Hollingsworth, and what I want to do today is document the paintings that I had made this summer and go through the house in general and show you our place in Spain. We are in Tossa de Mar, in Catalalunya, in the Costa Brava, lower end, north of Barcelona by about an hour and a half, hour and 15. And this is where we spend our summers mostly for the last 20 plus years. And what I have here is a studio on the second floor. And what I want to do today is show you the works I did this summer and show you the house, because it's never been documented in any kind of comprehensive way. So here we are. Situate yourselves, you guys. We're going to hear some barking. It's something you can't control. Well, don't want to maybe, because it gives Mika, our little dog, who's 13 years old today, or this year, and it gives her so much pleasure to bark at everybody outside the window. So this is her perch, where she can go boss people around. She's such a funny girl. ¿Qué? Sí, sí, sí. Mika, quieto.
Vamos a parir, ¿no?
Buen día, Totom. This is St. Telm, a street in Tossa, and it's such a cool little street. Right at the end of the street, cars can't go much farther beyond this point at this street here because the street gets too narrow. But I'll show you all that stuff later. Right now, the studio. Two works, principally this summer. This disc or tondo, and this multiplicity of discs. Multitondo. Decatondo, 10 of them. And the elevator pitch for the work is, generally speaking, that I paint with the body of the paint, sort of reclaiming the substance of painting from the disappearance of its factuality in image, in the flatness, post-Greenberg and post-conceptualist and all that business. I think it still has this effect today. And what I've been tracking on is extending that substance from the paint and its logic, tracking that substantiality to the support itself. So we have a very elaborated support. Comes out from a bunch of decisions being made along the way. Step by step, sort of figuring it out and sort of trying to give the support as full expression as the paint is on the surface of the canvas. These two paintings, the paintings themselves are kind of emulating support, kind of in the tones of color and dial down its voluptuousness, which would be an object example of the voluptuous, and dialing it down as far as possible so that it shares a stage with the support itself, because the support can't be ignored, and make sure that happened. This painting here is painted in 2022. Of course, I was thinking about tagging both my name and the date on the paintings as a part of its image. And that was 2022. What we'll see today is number of chapters, and basically it's sort of capitulos, the chapters of my works. Basically, as I paint, I'm opening doors of possibilities. Some doors I open and intrigue, but don't go down because I'm preoccupied with another possibility of painting. And but what I want to do with each of these sort of discoveries I make along the way is keep these doors open so I can return and chase down each of these different corridors, these different modalities of making paintings. So even if I go deep into support, this is kind of like a later iteration, and I'll flash images of the initial works in this video, but I'm keeping all my doors open, and I'm running down certain corridors, returning and running down others, basically. That's what you're seeing here. Back in 2017, at the end of the summer, I had made this little thing right at the end, thinking about the heaviness of my supports and how supports in general are they have to play kind of supporting actor kind of roles in the paintings. They have to basically disappear, much like a stage. Okay, so this was the first one. It was at the very end of the summer, and I was thinking about this issue of how to make something light. How light can I make them? Because my supports were so heavy at the time. And so I pulled this together. I basically had a week here left, much like I do right now. But we have about a week and a half before we go back to New York City. And I whipped this out, and I thought, okay, there's something going on here. Wire, hot glue. It's extremely durable. And okay, where do we go from here? And so returning to New York, I made a number of pieces that chased that rabbit down that hole. And it resulted in this kind of thing too. So typically, I title these works after I make them. And what I usually do is sift through my blog posts that were made at the time and sort of find the titles by, and therefore kind of reflect on its content, because the content is kind of abiding. When I'm making artwork, I'm not thinking about, okay, this is the message I want to deliver, and then I go down through a kind of design I don't do that. I don't go down through that. In a way, it's very architectural in that sense, where I used to teach architecture, and that was the thrust of it. You conceptualize your adventure, and then you analytically break it down, and then you march down the design process and figure it out. And guess what I'm trying to drive at right now is that these look like moons. But it was only after the fact of making that I started to think this way. But it does have a kind of lunar surface kind of thing, which I like a great deal now. In 2022, I started making a number of paintings in New York, and I continued here in Spain, and I made a few more of these. And basically, I just wanted monochromes, but monochromes that were emerging out of that sort of pure color-only status. So these are technically not, but it's in the spirit of. And with these paintings, as I was making them, a kind of strategy evolved where there are only three monads. These are these spiny things I call monads. after Leibniz is sort of the sort of fundamental building blocks, individuated elements that constitute the paintings. There are only three, one in the center, one at the top, and one at the bottom, a kind of Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost kind of thing. And all around, the other monads and other sort of actions that are on the canvas, from the peels and the stamps made, or the stomps made with various tools, which I can show you. They're all damaged, except for the three on the vertical axis. During these years, we've had COVID, we've had wars, tumult. These are kind of reflections about that in a way. And kind of distress and predicament. Also, what you'll see in the house as we walk through is a number of works. Mika's on the run. A number of works that are rescued from previous years. Here's one where I peeled it off the support because I've had a problem about, I don't know, from 2005 to 2010, where the paint started to fail in the sense of they didn't remain as my original intention. As I left it, they started to basically what I call cry. The oil separated from its matrix, and these what I call tears started to stream from the paintings. And at first, it was a kind of crisis moment, like, okay, well, 30%. And I started to repair as much as I could when collectors would pop up with them, and I still do, actually, but less and less over the years, thank goodness. But I started to like them as they are. And you'll see a number of them in the house because a lot of these rescued puppies I've kept. And it became a kind of part of the general meditation of my work and the sort of nature of these, sort of, in a way, a kind of perfect universe I had sort of conceptualized back in the 90s. Well, 96 is when all these kinds of works began for me. And I incorporated this sort of damage, this concept of damage, and sort of a fallen condition type of thing into the works in general. Also, there's this thing, like this little hang thing is a capriccio. It's just a little thing I just threw up because I didn't want to throw them away. They're a painting that was parts of a painting that I had cut away from its support and hung it into this thing. It was part of another construction, and I pulled it apart, and I kind of like it. The curious thing is that these kinds of intentions are kind of leftovers. They're residual. They're remnants. And I kind of like this. So in a way, as an artist, you kind of have to sort of be aware of when special things happen and not always have reasons for things. And chase your intuition when the bell goes off. This one, at the end of the day, is one of a couple of paintings I made a long time ago. But this kind of text thing, I don't really, it's not a programmatic thing for me, but I imagine many years from now when I'm gone and maybe at a funeral, this would be hanging above the casket maybe. Kind of dark, but you got to think about these things when you're 68. Yes, I had my birthday at the end of last month, and I'm 68 years old, kind of odd to figure out. Okay, so let's go downstairs and I'll show you the rest of the house. This is the street is St. Telm, and our house is right here, right in the corner. It's a pie-shaped plan, and you're seeing the narrow end of the pie, where the entrance is. Mika always likes to get cookies from our neighbors, so she's always trying to figure that out. And we have a cool little street, great neighbors, fantastic, all of them. And last year, our friend Kiko, who's a builder, and he's done much of the work in the house, had repaired our facade. And basically, we had a sort of a tall wainscot at the bottom, and he pulled off the plaster, revealing all these stones. Now, this house was built in 1706. It was a winery, a cava, sort of factory in a sense that used to be in the outskirts of old Tossa back in those days, kind of in the fields, I guess. And these stones were laid back then, and some of them were, Kiko had replaced certain stones, but majority of these were selected in place by Catalans back in 300 years ago. You can see the history where windows used to be and were filled in. And Mika, ven aquí. Wait. Ven aquí. Don't go too far. So I would imagine placements like this. Maybe Kiko did these. They had to be sort of like rocks replaced. I don't know. This used to be a doorway. It's filled in, obviously. But moments like this, I think, is a Kiko move. These guys, or these little caprichos. Certain things are like where pipes were placed in the wall. So in a way, this whole line going from here to here was hollowed out. Pipes were placed in. He buried these drain pipes into the wall and then blended everything together. So I call him a sculptor, just to compliment him. But he deserves it. He does it with such a caring eye. These two windows are my studio. Bedroom's above, but I'll show you that later. This pipe was encased in this plaster form, which is fantastic. I think of it as the nose on the building. After it was a winery, it became a bar, famous around town for many years. Don't know how long. The history is hard to reclaim. And it was called Can Marcelino Panivino. And all the fishermen and the town folk used to come here and cook sardines and drink wine over a fireplace. And we would get, and it's not uncommon for a doorbell to ring and some old person saying, or some young person saying, hey, my grandfather used to take me here when I was a kid. I have so many memories. It's fantastic. And there's Mika's perch. Mika, let's go inside. Come on. Let's go. Come on. Mika, man. After it was a winery, this place was a restaurant. called Tito's. This would be the entrance of the restaurant. And when we bought it, we stripped the restaurant away and put these in. But before I get into the details of that, here's a work I had done a couple of years ago, I guess. It's Job, the figure of Job. I had made one in New York, and I made another one here. The difference between the figure in New York and this figure, both Job, this is Job 2, is that the one in New York is kind of fashioned as I could figure, and then this one was patterned after my body, so I sort of used paper, loose paper, to create patterns and then model this out. This is from a painting that I had stripped away, much like you saw upstairs, and I had shaped that into this form. And basically it's the same logic as the paintings I had done this summer, the two I showed you. It's just that basically I was asking, how formal can I get? And I was also, this was post-COVID, or during COVID, or actually a year after, and you know, the world was shit. And like Job, I was asking, why are we suffering like this? I had seen an image of a German sculpture of Job, basically much in this posture. And basically I'm emulating, that was my point of departure. And I thought, okay, let's see if we can do this out of this kind of construction. This painting is a return from a show in Paris. Still have it wrapped up, but I'll show you other things. Let's go see the rest of the house. First floor, living room. So, dining room. An old fireplace that we're going to have changed someday when the money is here. And I feel it's going to be soon, because we're kind of interested now in spending some time in the winter, and we need some heat in the house. This used to be the bar, the location of the bar, and the bar would go through these doors and continue outside. I'll show you that in a second. A couple of barrels that used to be on the wall and a bar top. When it was a bar, it kind of looked like this. This is a pastel that we have found, or a reproduction of a pastel that we had found here, and it shows the life. And what you're seeing here is this arch, this window. This is the window, and this is the arch. And the painting on the wall is a painting that returned from my former gallery in Japan, Tomio Koyama. It was exhibited there. And it returned, and it also has that weeping condition, which in a way I like it. And I'm loath to strip it away, which it is candidate for, but I kind of like it as it is, and you'll see a number of those. And here we have another Capriccio. I really like Gaudi, and of course, who could not? Only the worst people don't like Gaudi. But the Gothic, he took the Gothic in the 20th century to places where few architects ever did. I would say Lautner is the only one that you can compare to Gaudi that way, where the sort of treatment is, the logic of the architecture was extended into the structure. And Gaudi has a construction that he's made both in Mallorca, in the cathedral there, and the one in Barcelona, Sagrada Familia, where he has, the name escapes me, but I'll flash it once I find it on the screen. And it's a celebration over a hanging cross of Christ. And when you take a good look at how it's made, it's just astounding. And it's always been in my mind, and maybe it's led to those other constructed works that you saw upstairs. But Can't go wrong if you're inspired by Gaudi. This work is called Colossus, and I guess the sort of ominous nature of this figure in the background, clouds and stuff like that. But it fills the wall very nicely, and I like having it in the house. It's fantastic. Let's go outside to the patio. Got some clothes hanging. Laundry room down here, but this used to be an extended dining room. This room used to be the kitchen of the restaurant. Now we call it a kind of garage, or we have a refrigerator in here, stuff like that. But other paintings stacked in the corner. One of the works I had to do this summer was repaint the patio, so I only got half of it. But one of the problems with the walls of this house is that we have the way it was built, and many people say it was built with beach sand in the cement, and therefore there was salt in the sand, and the water seems to wick up from the groundwater up into the walls, and it peels things off. Not surprisingly, as you can see in our well, which we share with our neighbor, water is very shallow. No surprise it would become wicking up the walls. But it's something I have to keep an eye on, and you live with some of it, and then you have to sort of bolt down and fix it. So one of my projects this summer was to paint this section of the patio. And up these stairs, laundry room, up these stairs, and we hang our clothes to dry. Then the kitchen. At this point, there was a set of doors. This was all enclosed, and we removed it, revealing the archway. And we built the kitchen into this strange conical room. Let's turn things on, some lights. Simple kitchen. But a very nice space, great place to cook. Really like it a lot. Let's go upstairs. Along the way, this is a painting from 2000, as I left Texas and we first came to Spain. And this is the first painting I painted in Tossa. And again, unintentional damage. It was hard sourcing art materials at that time, so I used latex, and that was a bad choice. But as I peeled it off the support, I said, I like this a lot, so I'm going to keep it.
This is where I long to be. La isla bonita.
So here we are at the second floor studio. The studio used to be a kind of supply room for the restaurant. They used to iron their linens here. They used to have refrigerators, freezers, dry goods. So it made sense to render this as a studio. The owners lived on the third floor, and this is where our bedrooms are. Some paintings from friends here. Richard van der Aa, who has a gallery in Cadaqués. skylight where a robber had jumped down through last winter, and nothing to rob here except for paintings, but the guy, I guess, wasn't savvy about paintings. This is a painting from our friend Kiko on a crazy night here in Tossa. And our bedrooms. Here's one example of actually the first moment where I realized that with these weeping paintings, I could actually capture the tears in little cups. And this has been particularly effective. You can see the drippings and the contents of the cup. But who could throw this thing away, really? I think it's just delightful. Master bedroom, I guess. With these great old ceilings. Old vigas. Imagine in the last 300 years, there were roofs removed and floors added. And down this way, when we first bought the house, we had Kiko remake the bathroom. These doors were painted by the previous owner, restaurant Tito's. And the funny thing is that I couldn't bear to paint over these guys because they were made with such cariño. The techniques, the monkeys, the flowers. Amateur painting in Tossa, which there is a lot. The fixtures brought in, they're bought in, from England and then shipped over here, and Kiko had to haul this big tub up these stairs that we just went up. You can imagine that was a big story in the town at the time. This bedroom is basically Stephanie's office. But it's a spare bedroom when we need it. Another painting with cups of tears. If it's a nod to Pat Steer, let it be so. But what was concretely in my mind was recalling the large glass by Duchamp and how he accepted the cracks. And it's chance operations. So basically I'm saying chance is okay by me. I invoke the law of the large glass. Just take a look out the window. This is our friend Emmanuel and Laura just bought this place. They're from Barcelona. And Kiko is about to do some work. Let's see if we can zoom. He's going to extend the kitchen, rebuild the kitchen, and extend it into an outdoor kitchen. So this whole wall will have the same treatment as our walls, basically. And these old legacy windows where our neighbor's wall is, and when the sun shines through, glancing this wall is just spectacular. But enough of this floor. Let's go upstairs. Spider-Man. We had a robber that parkoured over the roofs of our neighbors and popped down this skylight, damn it. Ransacked through all of our stuff, nothing to find. We don't keep bars of gold or pearls or diamonds or Bitcoin in this house. Only paintings that if he was smart enough to grab them, I would have liked to have a drink with the guy. This is one of the first paintings in Tossa as well. An example of the material actually functioning. None of it started weeping. So it's hard to figure. Some batches were bad, some batches were good. Coming from the paint factory, what can we say? And we have paintings from friends that Phil Wagner, he stayed up here. And that's his rendition of this mountainside that you see in the distance, where sits a lighthouse. And this is from Henry Taylor, who painted a visitor that was here on the couch downstairs. And the terrace with Cap Tossa in the distance. You see the walls of the Via Vea, the old castle, I guess. As much of a castle as Tossa could generate. There's one of the towers. And all along the skyline at the very top is a lighthouse, which at night you can see the light swinging around the sky, which is very nice. Great day. What clouds. And on the other side, a church. So we are between the church and the sea. And you can hear the bells go off at the hour, at the quarters, and the call to attend church. From this vantage point, at this height, you can see the property and its extents down below. Patio that we were just down, where our laundry's hanging, and beyond that is a garden from our neighbor's garden. The owner's passed away, but he used to grow tomatoes and zucchini and stuff like that. It was really sweet. And off to one corner is a bar called Maricel. Underneath all that ivy is the back end of that bar. And music just floats out of there, even though they try to keep it contained in the bar. It's not that bad. It doesn't bother me, the noise. And this is our neighbor, Tony and Anna, which we saw them build their house. I could say rebuilt because I saw them build the stairs and then tear the stairs down and rebuild them again. It's pretty crazy. And this is the tail end of St. Telm. The white house at the end is the Emmanuel and Laura's house that I showed you earlier. Laura's from England, Emmanuel's from Italy. And this house here is owned by a Dutch couple. And they've done a spectacular job building out the interior of that place. It's fantastic. And that is the tour. Always lots of work to do on this place. I've neglected some of it, but sometimes you can't do it. You have to pay attention. So this summer I've been paying some attention. It cost me some time, but it's time well spent, because this wall, where right there, where it was a crack, and in that crack water infiltrated and would leak down into the bedroom near the bed, which was crazy. We used to have buckets trying to pick up the water. We couldn't find the leak, and this summer we figured it out and sealed it up, and finally we're dry, which is fantastic. And another job I had to do was fill in all these little cracks right here, all along the stairs, which took a bit of time and energy. But I think I've got that sealed up now, which is nice. So this summer is a balance of home repair and painting, so, and always with parties with friends. Welcoming parties, parties along the way, goodbye parties. It's a painting from my friend Nacho, who painted me. That's what I looked like in his eyes at that time. That's Nacho's work. Thank you, Nacho. It's fantastic. So that's the tour of the house, tour of the studio. Hope you liked it. And that's the half hour, 2 bells. And for my friends in New York, I'll be seeing you soon, less than 2 weeks. For my friends across the country, the United States, really miss you guys. I haven't seen enough of you. And my old long lost friends from architecture school and from the Navy, God, I miss you guys. And I'm looking for that space in my life where I can like break free and see you again. Let's cross our fingers for that. Signing out.